Hello, I'm Joshua, and I'm an INTP. And first and foremost, I would like to say thank you for viewing this video. As you can notice, I'm smiling quite widely because I have been on a very long hiatus because of technical difficulties, and I've finally sorted those things out so that I have the opportunity to restart making videos once again. So without further ado, I would like to jump right into this video and say that this video is on INFJs. And the first thing I would like to start with saying is that INFJs are in existence that is qualitatively based. Qualitative means that meaning precedes the facts or the objective nature of reality. They have a tendency of patternization that looks for structures of feeling or emotive qualities that present existential properties to them so that they can see a salience to the connectivity between themselves and the outside world. INFJ's dominant function is introverted intuition, so they are passive, multimodal individuals. They have a passive quality to them, as in they do not try to directly interact with their environment to produce any phenomenon or results in it that would determine what they can see as meaning. Meaning that INFJs don't have a problem with being in the environment, but they wait for the environment to tell them things, as they have the tendency to pull out strands and bits of data of objective factors to try and cull them together for insights of qualitative factors. They want to come to understandings and conclusions about reality because they have a need to establish strands of meaning between the self and its relation to all other things in the world. INFJs have extroverted feeling, so they have this idea of a totalitarian nature or monism to people in reality, where it's the connective agencies that give meaning to them. Meaning can be looked at as strands of connectivity for them, how they are centered but then reach out to other things, and how other things come back and affect them. For the INFJ has extroverted sensing, so they have a tendency to have a sort of dichotomous and contentious relationship inside their psyche between a pluralism, a consistent changing phenomenal factor out in reality. They are empiricists by way of their extroverted sensation, and they find that the things that they want must be instantiated out in reality for it to make sense to them, as they'll try to pick up causal relationships between the events case by case and bring them together over time, but they find that extroverted sensing leads to this pluralism that negates meaning to things. Their main center and focus is meaning, like the INFP, but the meaning that they want is to be connected. The INFP's meaning is derived from the self. The INFJ's meaning is derived from the self's connectivity to the world. The self in its relation to the world is the INFP. The world in its relation to the self is the INFJ. So their extroverted sensing sort of puts them out in the sea of pluralism. It shows them a world filled with chaos, change, and transformation. So their dominant function exists as sort of an island to buoy them in the washing of the sea of chaos, of the pluralism, of the empirical natures of reality. Because there is the saying of Greek philosophers that you can never walk in the same river twice. Well, it's so true that you can't walk in the same river twice because it's always moving, but the INFJ takes it a step farther and says, well, if you can't walk in the same river twice, then you can't walk in the same river once. So what's the point of walking in the river? How can you know it is a river? How do you know what it is, what it means, or anything like that? So they have this nature to them to create a monism but they want to escape from this monism by way of introverted thinking. Introverted thinking wants to make everything one, makes it universal and necessary, and that sends itself up to the totalitarian and egalitarian nature of extroverted feeling, but they know that this is somewhat of a nihilism of just a black hole of nothingness. Because if everything's one, which they fundamentally believe in a certain way, then nothing can be spoken of. And because they are the intuitive type that has communication at the core of their nature, a world where communication cannot happen is a hell to them. They find it as hell. Though they don't speak to many people while they're out, they love dialogue, and they have internal dialogue consistently going on, and it is this mode of communicative being that they exist as. They're trying to escape this. They have a dualism because they're bringing together pluralism in the world and its chaotic nature, and monism in the self, and bringing it under a matrix of introverted intuition that is a passive agency, but is an agency that is concerned with the metaphysical and epistemological, ontological nature of reality. They're using the tendency to be metaphysicians to bring an antidote to the crisis of meaning that can come with monism and pluralism, with the tendency to go all the way to the extreme of singularity, or the tendency to go to the extreme of complete relativism. You find the harmony and the blend of those things coming together in one in the INFJ, because they are one of the rare types that is qualitative in nature, but has an ardent, rational center in them that is trying to come to logical ordering and understanding of reality and things. And so the INFJ ultimately is a metaphysician. They're a metaphysician. They're saying what is, and they're a metaphysician that is an phenomenological empiricist. They care about being in itself in the world and how it continually finds itself integrating into communities, because they're the types that think that people need to work together. People need to work together, and the meaning and salience of meaning comes by way of relation and communication. It is what the INFJ says to others that's communicated through action, that's communicated through thought, that they innately know and believe to be the antidote to human woe and suffering. The INFJ thinks that if we can come together and learn to reason with one another and speak to one another, we can find the capacity to be kind insofar as we continue the proliferation and the involvement of mankind in its search for meaning, because that's at the basis of their nature. If we can figure out how to better speak to one another and to reason about things, we can come to greater ethical and wiser decisions. Those decisions, them being dominant, introverted, intuitive types, are supposed to be there to most influence the future, so that there can be a future to be had. Because the INFJ sees a reality of that is rich with meaning, but is right next to the thrones of nihilism. They see, it's a lot like the INFP. The INFP is in the search for nihilism in the way that it can show up and the stultification of things, but the INFJ is looking for how it can show up in the mishandling of the existence of something, what something is. Mishandling it and misunderstanding the categories that it fits with will lead to a downfall in the pragmatic sense and scope of your activities as a person. No one likes to see the works of their hands fall into ruin. And if you cannot see how to best categorize something, you will not realize the corruption that's in your thoughts and your actions that may lead to the corruption in the world. They're ethical by nature. And then they're also looking to see in that and in this that if you can figure out what something is, you should also be able to figure out how it best fits with others. And you need to understand how to talk and to fit with others, because we need one another. And the INFJ, we need each other because there is an ethos or a community of humanity that lives in them. They're the type that sees all in people. They will be able to find, like the ENFJ, a good in everything, a good in everyone, because they have this didact of the white paisley with a black dot going on in them,